Civil society organizations loudly condemned the proposed legislation called the NGO bill. I'm Linda Akibe, and you're welcome to the Gavel. Now, the House of Representatives has finally held the hugely anticipated public hearing on the NGO bill. The proposed legislation, that's the NGO bill, seeks to establish a commission that would supervise and coordinate non-governmental organizations in the country. But there has been a huge outcry against the bill, which several civil society organizations describe as repressive, a gag on free speech and freedom of expression.
The campaign against the NGO bill was as fierce as it was unrelenting. The bill seeks to establish a commission which will register, supervise, and monitor the activities of non-governmental organizations and civil society organizations in the country. Civil society organizations loudly condemned the bill, claiming that it is a legislation which would gag them. The House of Representatives held a public hearing on December 13th to get the views of CSOs on the matter. The attendance at the public hearing was at an all-time high. The hall in the House of Representatives was filled to capacity as representatives of various CSOs wanted their voices to be heard.
The essence of this public hearing is actually for the committee, on behalf of the House, to gather information and expert opinion from stakeholders from different parts of the country. We believe that this bill, the bills in question are very critical bills that are going to touch on very sensitive issues in this country. As a result of that, it is important to us that we have you around to look at these issues critically and oblige us your own opinion and views on these issues, so that at the end of the day we have sufficient information to guide us in arriving at conclusions and recommendations that will be in the interest of Nigeria as well as all stakeholders.
The views of participants were straight and direct.
I think we cannot continue like this, because the political class itself has also developed almost a feeling of disregard, because if you don't, respect begets respect. So I think this conversation is important, because as we move along the road, this convergence of ideas deepens our democracy. But I also, as I said 3 days ago, we have the depths of our democracy. I think what is most important now is a horizontal democracy, which is widening the scope of our democracy. And that then involves the energies of ordinary people. I stand with civil society very firmly, and I believe that we have enough laws in this country. We're really not in short of laws, covering almost every dimension of our national life. What I think is most important, and the only thing I can say about this bill is perhaps the intention was right, but I think it does not appreciate the length and the amount of effort that has been made, to put in place laws and so on. But we have a bureaucracy and other institutions that are really not, that are literally malfunctioning and unable to deliver services. I think that even for me as a priest, if I fall foul of the law, treat me as a thief, not as a bishop. So I think that we should focus more on how to generate and sustain the energies of our people, as opposed to creating a situation in which we might find that the lines of suspicion are deepening.
Certainly the consensus in civil society is that there are sufficient laws in Nigeria today to guide the operations of civil society in Nigeria. And we certainly do not need any other law. But I think the House of Representatives and this committee providing us this opportunity of putting this across is the beauty of democracy. So when we look at the bill and when we look at existing laws, when we look at the Corporate Affairs Commission, when we look at all of the regulatory environment that guides the operations of CSOs in Nigeria, We know that there are adequate laws in the country today to guide the operations of civil society organizations.
We had an outbreak of meningitis in Kano, and the government was not able to come up with the vaccines. My NGO flew in vaccines into this country within 24 hours. If this commission is established, we would have had to go through them. You probably would have met somebody who is not on seat to approve us to make that order, which means for 3 days, yes, because we could have been there for like 3 days waiting. And within that period, a number of children would die. Yes. A number of women would die. Yes. A number of Nigerians would die.
If you go to subsection 11, sir, it subjects churches to double registration. Having been registered by CAC, churches have to now re-register again and have to give a proposed annual budget. Section 13 then talks about issuing churches, mosques, faith-based organizations with certificates of registration.
One after the other, representatives of CSOs said a big no to the bill.
How do I plan to come to Abuja every time I want to run a project? It is fine for people who are in Abuja to come and go to a commission's office. But we all know the inefficiencies that happen in ministries here. This commission, they propose to have 9 members of the government, 3 members of CSOs, and 6 members from voluntary organization, from the voluntary organization. The government, you mentioned inefficiencies earlier. We know the government is inefficient. An additional commission, where is the strategy for the efficiency? We know that there is no keeping up with technology. So then I have to bring all my papers to Abuja and turn it in. Imagine if 75,000 CSOs did that. How do I then get approval for my project? That's going to cause unnecessary delays, which effectively cuts off support to vulnerable families.
Now, this bill for us does not in any way encourage us, the youth, in any way if it's being passed. If we have to register under the various sections, imagine the cost we would accrue. Just registering with the CAC is enough problems. I mean, if you've tried to register, it will cost you about 100 to 120 to get somebody to listen. Where do I have 24, that kind of amount as a 24-year-old? And you're then asking me to register in with another commission. For us, it's really, really going to influence and discourage us from looking at working for Nigeria.
Sensing the tension in the hall, lawmakers were forced to make an appeal.
This bill, is it a Nigerian bill? Answer is no. Is it best practice? Yes. Is it perfect? No. We need you to assist us in making this bill perfect. We need you to come up with innovative ways. There are clauses you have read that you are not happy with. But are there people who want to speak for the bill so that we don't take too much of your time?
We need your ideas. We can take out what you don't want that is favorable, that will make the bill to stand. If the bill cannot stand at all, there is nothing for you people to be aggressive. I have read your minds, your faces here. You are too aggressive, please. Don't be aggressive.
The possible outcomes for the bill going forward is that amended version of the bill scales through, or the bill is thrown out. Nigerians will have to wait to find out what will be the position of the committee when it submits its report to the House.